Oh, so this is
What's it? Are we live too? Is it started? People in there?
people are in there.
All right, can you guys hear me? Do you hear me talking? Hello, can you hear me?
You can hear? Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay.
We had to switch computers here, so. Is it recording? All right. All right, sorry about that, everyone. My computer rebooted at 11 and took about 35 minutes and fixed some things it said it needed to fix because it wasn't working, and apparently changed some settings on my computer that didn't allow click meetings. So I am now using Eliane's computer, and we will begin. So welcome to our webinar for February 2019. We do one of these each month. Last month was mindset up, and then next month in March we'll have Karim talking about relationships. And so today we're going to be talking about why resolutions fail and how to create goals at work. And I am Dr. Bryce Jorgensen, very excited to discuss how to create goals that motivate us to continue working on them throughout the year rather than just for a few weeks or a couple of months. By the way, after the webinar, you'll receive a handout which includes the concepts that I'll be covering today. So let's make sure this works. All right, so I want to ask a few questions. Hopefully you guys see that changed down to the next slide. Why do we create resolutions? Why have you or have you not created resolutions in the past? So you can type those in, or you can just be thinking about this to yourself. Another question, what outcome do you expect from making each of these resolutions? Hopefully, if you're making resolutions, you're expecting a specific outcome. And then have you failed at a resolution before? And if so, why? So again, this is mainly for you to think about. You don't necessarily have to type in or answer these, but I just want you to think about what you created and why. Has anybody ever heard of hashtag resolution fail? There's a lot. If you go to Jimmy Fallon, he has some videos. There's a lot of people that create resolutions and then they fail within a short amount of time. It's called the fresh start effect, and actually 8% are ultimately successful. You know, the researchers at the Wharton School say people are more likely to tackle their goals immediately following some salient temporal landmark, for example, birth of a child or a marriage or a new year. So they call it, like I said, this fresh start effect. That's how they use it. But they found that it doesn't really last very long. You've noticed a lot of these hashtag resolutions fails, and I just want to read a couple of these. One person tweeted on January 1st, New Year's resolution to get back on a normal sleep schedule. ... blown. Thanks, X-Files on Netflix. Hashtag resolution fail. Here's another one. Got ready for the gym, packed my gear, and went for a burger instead. Hashtag resolution fail. So again, research shows most of us can stick out maybe a few weeks on our resolutions, but fewer than half are still going after 6 months, and ultimately only 8% are successful. And the truth is, change is hard. I mean, that's just the truth. It's sometimes ridiculously hard. Even after a heart attack, you'd think that would be one of those salient temporal landmarks that you could have. But after a heart attack, only 14% of patients make any lasting changes around exercise or eating. the average person makes the same New Year's resolution, something like 10 separate times, without success. In fact, many of us just stop making resolutions because we failed at them in the past. So if you like to see the different types of resolutions and how they failed, again, you can go to Jimmy Fallon with his hashtag resolution fail, and he's got a bunch of great ones to watch. So we're going to go over 5 reasons why resolutions fail, why we make these resolutions at the beginning of the year. We're excited about them. We want to have a new, fresh start. And then if you're like a lot of people, including myself, some of those actually don't come true. So reason number 1, your resolutions fail because they are vague. So one thing that we put out there as our resolutions are things like, I want to have better health. I want to improve my marriage or my family relationships. I want to make more money. I want to spend less. I want to get out of debt. I want to save more. But these are very vague. They're not specific, and they're not motivating enough to get us to move forward. So what needs to be done is to figure out what progress needs to happen and why we're doing it and by when. So it's very important to personalize your goal, knowing your strengths and weaknesses and what's likely to happen and what's not. But the bottom line is that goals need to be specific and in your control. So you don't want to say something like, I want to lose 20 pounds, but instead, I want to work out for 30 minutes, 3 days a week. You can control that. I want to save $25 a paycheck by automatically putting $25 into a savings account. You can control that. So what are ways that you can control that are specific, that make sense for you, that you can take pride in ownership of? And a lot of times people see this and they think, okay, the SMART goals. Hopefully a lot of you have heard of SMART goals, and I've added an ER to the end. Some other research has shown that this is effective to make them not just SMART goals, but smarter goals. So we want goals to be specific. Again, instead of I want to lose weight, we want to say I want to work out 3 times a week. We want it to be measurable. So how are you going to actually see the results happening? $25 a paycheck, you can see that that's actually taking place. And then you want to say, is it attainable? Well, if you were not saving any money before, and you don't have enough to maybe save $100 a paycheck, $25 might be attainable. Is it relevant? Are you wanting to save money for a specific goal that you have? And if it's yes, you're trying to save it for vacation or down payment on a house or something like that, then obviously it's relevant to you and you want it to be relevant to you. And then time bound. We need to know when we've reached the goal. So if your goal is to save $600 a year in a year, and then you need $50 a month, and you get paid twice a month, and you're going to save $25 automatically every paycheck, then that is going to happen because you have a plan, it's specific, there's a time put to it, and you know if you are going to reach that and it's relevant to you. So then adding the E and the R to smarter goals, we want to evaluate and understand, is this something that's working for me? Are we on track still? Is there some nuances I need to change? Because we want to be flexible with our goals so that they can move along with what we're trying to accomplish. So then if we just readjust, once we've evaluated and see if everything's still working, then we can readjust so that we can then move forward and have consistency. You got your screen timed out. All right, so we're using the other computer and the screen times out, so I didn't know that. So I'll keep plugging it. All right, there we go. All right, so then we want to talk about what's the difference between resolution versus goals. And this is important. Resolutions are those things that we've been talking about, that they're vague. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better friend. Okay, that sounds like a good resolution, but it's too vague. And so a goal gives us clarity about what it is we want and in the different domains of life that we care about. And so it could be about your marriage or about your vocation, about your health, but it needs to be very specific. A goal is the one that is written down and has a plan of action so that you can continue forward and accomplish it. So number two, first one was because they're vague. Number two is because they're boring. So resolutions often fail because they're boring. We need to distinguish between what a goal is versus what a task is, right? So if you have a goal to clean the garage or clean your office or to organize blah, 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 that is a task. It's not exciting, at least to most people. And so don't set that as a goal. That's a task to be done, and you can try to set up a time period and things to get the task done. But you need to have some excitement around your goal. So people lose their way on their goals when they lose their why. Understanding why the goal is important, why it's beneficial for them, what's the reason they want to accomplish it, and it needs to be something that excites them extrinsically and intrinsically. So you need intrinsic motivation so that you can continue to work hard towards the end goal and know where you're going and why you're going. So to get these compelling goals, they should have one of the characteristics there on the screen in the bigger circle. They need to be either spiritually meaningful, intellectually stimulating, emotionally energizing, or physically challenging. And so they need to have a little bit of difficulty to them and stretch you and not be super boring, because you want to be able to understand why you're doing it and be excited about what you're doing. Number three is they're too easy. Resolutions fail because they're too easy. So this is a comic, and it says, my goal this year is to eat less, exercise more, and lose 25 pounds. That sounds hard, he says. Maybe, but I can do hard things if I put my mind to it, she says. In fact, that's going to be my mantra. I can do hard things. Do you want to join me? He says, no thanks. My mantra is I can hardly do things. So we need to have our mindset around doing hard things and stretching ourselves, because when we put things that are too easy in front of us, then it just doesn't have the motivation to move us forward. The truth is, and research shows, that challenging goals improve performance. We've all experienced it before. You get excited about something that's tough, and the research backs it up. So difficult goals are far more likely to generate the sustained enthusiasm and higher levels of performance that we're looking for. Realistic goals are not going to get you fired up, and conversely, challenging goals absolutely will. So how do we do that? Well, there's three zones of comfort: the comfort zone, the discomfort zone, and the delusional zone. And so in the comfort zone, it's too easy. It's incremental, small little things that happen. It doesn't excite us. It doesn't compel us. It doesn't motivate us. An example could be something that you could finish by the end of the day. So these are kind of, again, small little tasks. They're not big ideas that's going to stretch you. So the discomfort zone is challenging and it stretches you. In fact, there's a saying that says your next level of success in life lies just outside your comfort zone, which would be just inside your discomfort zone. And so if we're wanting to stretch and move and progress, we need to get outside of our comfort zone and move to our discomfort zone. And you should feel some fear, some doubt, some uncertainty, right? Otherwise, it's not hard enough. These feelings are indicators that you are outside of your comfort zone. An example, again, could be you save a percentage of your earnings, like 5 to 10%. If you're only earning 5%, how about you stretch yourself to 10% and get outside your comfort zone and move forward in what you want to accomplish. You also want to be okay with failing, because if you're not failing, research shows you're not trying hard enough. And so on things that really matter. And so I don't mean you feel you're a failure, but you're trying new things. And even if you don't hit the mark, you're learning and growing and progressing. And so getting to be okay with or comfortable with this idea of failing means that you're in your discomfort zone and you're moving and you're growing and you're progressing. And we'll talk more about that as we go on. But, I ask my kids sometimes, I say, try to fail 5 times a week. And so sometimes when we're eating, I say, how have you failed? And if you don't like the word failure, say, what have you tried that is outside of your comfort zone? Do 5 things a week that's outside your comfort zone and new things. So one example is my daughter. She was in plays in middle school, and she would only be the technical assistant person that's in the back, helps, create things and paint things and do the lighting and stuff like that, because she didn't want to get outside her comfort zone and be in the spotlight and actually perform, even though she really wanted to. And so I challenged her and said, you should try this, and it will help you to grow and progress. And even if you try for something and don't make it, you are getting outside your comfort zone and learning. And one of these times, the more you try, then the more things are going to happen your way. Well, she did it in her freshman year, the first half. She's a freshman now, and she was just in the kind of the background people in a play, Elf Junior. And now this next semester, this I guess is going to happen in April around Easter time. They're doing Mamma Mia, and she is Sophie in the play because she put herself out there. She's one of the main characters, and she's excited and happy and knows that that's going to take place. Can you give me your code? Sorry, I'm not moving it around enough. It phased out on me again.
Okay, it's P1.
Yeah,
I'll write it down.
I'm not going to remember that. All right. So my tried out for any part, and that's what she got. Then if we move to the delusional zone, though, where we do not want to be, this is kind of things that they're just not going to happen. It means it's not realistic. It's unobtainable. You're going to get discouraged. It drives you away from making progress in the goals you initially set. So one example could be, you save more than half your paycheck, or you pay off your 10,000 student loans in 2 months, and you're only making minimum wage, right? That's just not going to happen. So you don't want to be in your comfort zone. You don't want to be in the delusional zone. You want to find someplace that comfortably in the discomfort zone. All right. Number 4, reason why we fail. Your resolutions fail because they are overwhelming. And so that might sound a little contradictory to what I just said. Is, well, don't they want to be a little overwhelming because you're in your uncomfort, right? Your discomfort zone. And let me explain what I mean. So maybe you set a goal to get healthy, and then you come up with sub goals like, I'm going to lose weight, drink more water, get more sleep, going to go work out 4 times a week, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to sit less, I'm going to cut out fast food, blah, 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 blah. Right? There's too many subs. They're just like, it's going to be overwhelming, and it's not going to work. So it's a recipe for failure, I guess. And that's not the type of failure you want because you're overwhelmed. You want failure because you're trying new things and it doesn't work out, and you try the next thing. And so sometimes in the business world, we call that failing forward. If you are taking massive, even imperfect action, but moving forward in your goals, even if you don't quite reach them and you fail at totally reaching them, you've moved forward and you've accomplished and grown. And so you can see these arrows, and the reason why it has 3 targets and a bunch of arrows is because if we have, say, 10 arrows in our quiver and we have 10 goals or 10 targets, then we're less likely to hit the bullseye because we only get 1 arrow per target. But if we have fewer goals that are more relevant to us, right, fewer targets, say 3, and we have 10 arrows, then our likelihood and accuracy of hitting the target is going to be better than just shooting 1 at each target. So it's understandable how we want to fix up our lives as much as we can, or we're on a high on life and are motivated and making ourselves better with these New Year's resolutions. And although when other obstacles and issues arise and our motivation is gone, that's when our resolutions are also gone. And so part of keeping this energy alive and not getting overwhelmed is narrowing the list and having a final cut for the goals that are truly meaningful in our life. And one of the ways we can do that is by asking a few questions. So there's a book called The One Thing, and it's all about narrowing your focus. which is a big challenge for many of us because there's so many things we want to do. And so we should be asking ourselves a few questions. And one of them is, from all the things I could do, what are the things that I must or should do? And then write those down. And then of those things that you must and should do, you ask yourself, if I could only do one of these things, which would be the clear winner? And that's your priority. Then you can go on from there and say, what would be the second and third winner? If I could only do two or three things, what would those be? And those are your top three goals, and you should focus on and be motivated in those goals that are clear, they're smarter goals, they're in your discomfort zone, they give you energy and excitement, and you're focused on all those three targets with all of your arrows going towards accomplishing those things. I have up here, if you've heard of the 80-20 rule, a lot of times the majority of what we want happens by the minority of what we do, right? So we get 80% of the benefits from 20% of our effort. And so we want to make sure that we're focused on and being smart and getting the most bang for our buck. And so what are the things we can do that's going to give us the 80% return on the lowest amount of effort? And that's going to be prioritizing with the top three things. And if you think of Benjamin Franklin as an example, he worked on one attribute he wanted to enhance a little each day until he met the goal of where he wanted to get. And then after he got to where he wanted on that one attribute, he would move on to the next attribute. Instead of saying, I want to work on all these attributes a little at a time, he wouldn't have got anywhere. Progress. In fact, he might have even decided it was too hard and to quit. So, number 5, your resolutions fail because they are easily forgotten. So out of sight, out of mind, right? It's easy to forget our goals if we do not have a process for remembering them. So this even happens in corporations that create a vision and then don't go back to it frequently. Let's make a vision statement, they say, right? And then you make it and nothing really happens. So what are we going to do? And what review process do you have or have you had in the past that's actually worked? I want you to think about what you've done. Is there a goal that has been exciting to you, that's been specific, meaningful, that's had a time to it, that has motivated you and been outside of your comfort zone? And how did you get there and accomplish that? Was it written down? Did you place it on your mirror? Do you have it in a planner? Do you have reminders on your cell phone or in your calendar to come up and remind you about those things? Hey, don't forget to do this, which those things can be very helpful. Those are called nudges. Another book called Nudge. You can set your phone up to nudge you to do things. You can put it on your calendar to reminders. But how do you work best to have a review process in place? And then as you review, again, you can look back and see, okay, what's working? I can readjust and I can keep moving forward. You can spot gaps in your plan as you're viewing it. You know, I'm not making the progress I wanted to. How about we do this? And that motivates you and keeps you motivated to continually acting towards your goal. Again, when goals are visible, your brain goes to work in figuring out how to accomplish them. It's also important to record your goals, again, in one place. And so I want you to think about that just for a minute of where you might put your goals so that they're not easily forgotten and that you can see them each day. And again, things we tell our brain, then it goes to work subconsciously even to make that happen. And we want to tell ourselves that, you know, who we are and what we're accomplishing are the stories that we tell ourselves, the sentences and the vocabulary that we're using in our brain about ourselves and what we're going to accomplish. And so we don't want to be beating ourselves up of, you know, oh, I'm just not good enough or I can't accomplish that. But we want to say specifically, this is what I want to happen and I see myself in the future and this is what's going to take place. And when we do that, our brain goes to work and accomplishes those things that we want to have happen. All right, so why should we care? Why should we care about goals? Um, why do we, are we comfortable with your life? Or are there other things you want to accomplish? Is there more in life that you want? Do you feel like you are having the life that you're meant to have? Are you happy? Do you feel fulfilled, successful? Are you contributing in ways that you want to? Are you living a life of meaning and contribution? And so hopefully we are, and that can get into some other time management that we could do later in a different webinar. But we want to think of and define success for ourselves rather than what the world says and making more money or climbing the corporate ladder or whatever it is that, being the boss and becoming the manager. What is success for you? How would you define success? How would you define a life of meaning and of fulfillment? And once you have that idea of purpose for your life and what life is for you, what success is for you, then you can create these goals, and these goals help fine tune and help you get in the mindset of accomplishing and going towards this life of success. So that's why we should care. And if we're doing well, there's hopefully other things in the future that ways we want to continue to improve, continue to contribute and serve in other ways, ways we want to grow and progress in our own lives. And so we shouldn't necessarily be comfortable where we are, but we want to continue our journey and move forward. And without goals, we tend to stay in our comfort zone and miss out on a lot of the enjoyment that life has to offer by personal growth. So I want you to do a couple of things. And again, these will be in the handout at the end of the webinar. And so you can see on the screen here, there's 3 questions. Ask 3 questions or answer the 3 questions by completing the form for each area of your life that you want to improve. So that could be as a father or a spouse or a friend or a brother or a student or an employer or employee or whatever it is. You can have different areas of your life, and you want to make a list. What are you doing now that is limiting you from getting to this life that you want, of this life of fulfillment and meaning and contribution? And so you make a list. What am I doing now that is keeping me from that life? And then the next box, what am I not doing that if I did would move me towards the life that I want? And then you put down the changes that you want to make. And again, these should be in your discomfort zone. They should be motivating, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself. So you want to just pick what you are. And so this will help us then in the future to say yes to the important things and no to the less important or the unimportant. It helps us focus on the goals that will take you to the next level of success in life. Sometimes we have to practice saying no. And so if you have a hard time saying no when you really can, and it's not really going to be detrimental to your work or other things, we should practice saying no to things. In fact, part of that is making a not to-do list, right? What are things I'm doing that I shouldn't be doing or taking my time that are keeping me from accomplishing the life that I want? So making a not to-do list, as well as practicing the art of saying no in a way that leaves people still happy and with you, but that you're not taking on more than you can handle. So you can see the title here, Envision Yourself 5 Years in the Future. Another tool that people use in the success principles. They say, envision yourself 5 years in the future. And you can do this with whatever time period you want. It could be 1 year, it could be 3 months, whatever it is. Envision yourself, let's just say 1 year this time, 1 year in the future. Your life over the last year has been perfect. Everything has gone just as you wanted. You see your life, how it is in a year. You feel how good it is. You've accomplished so much. Write down what you did over this last year in as much detail as you can, and then you answer these questions. What are the choices you are making and the behaviors in which you are involved that will limit you from reaching this perfect life, right? And what are you not doing that if you were to do would help you accomplish it? And again, that's what you can put in those boxes. So if we act as if we're living that life, if again, you think at the end of the year and how your life would be perfect, not perfect, but it was a perfect year, everything went according to plan and you accomplished all these things that you wanted to, act as if that's happened. Be that type of person. Who would you be? How would you feel? And then feel that way and act that way, and those things will come to pass, right? And so again, our mind is powerful. And so if we put into our mind that that's who we are and how we want to be and act that way and behave that way, then those goals actually play out over that year. And then this is a, Stephen Covey uses this and others. We just, again, simplifying and not trying to do too much. One other way that, I'm trying to give a few different tools. So whatever makes most sense to you, you can take and kind of implement to be able to accomplish the goals that you want. But one is just this idea of what is one thing I could change as a, and you put your role in there, friend, that would make a significant positive difference in my life. So small but meaningful changes that aren't even hard to do can be in our discomfort zone even, right? It can, because we're not doing it. And the discomfort is, I know I should do it, this kind of knowing doing gap. I know I should do it, but I'm not doing it. And so the discomfort is having to think about it, put it down in front of me to remind myself to do it, and remind myself and look at these each day. What is the one thing I could change as a blank that would make a significant positive difference in my life? And that could be, again, as a friend or an employee or a team member, whatever your key roles are. Each of your answers then become your goal for each of those roles. And if your answer is truly meaningful and will make a significant positive difference in your life, hopefully you'll be motivated enough to follow through for each of these different roles. So we're going to finish up here, and I just wanted to remind you a few things that we went over. Reason why resolutions fail is because, one, the goals aren't are vague, right? They're not specific and in our control. And so we need to make sure that instead of being vague as resolutions, goals need to be specific and in our control. Number two, resolutions fail because they're boring. So goals need to have this intrinsically motivating sense to them. We need to be empowered because of intrinsically rather than a raise, or because we're going to get a promotion or something extrinsically. Number three, the third reason why resolutions fail is because they're too easy. They're in our comfort zone. And so we need to have goals that are difficult enough to motivate us. And again, research shows that if it's in our discomfort zone and they're difficult, but not totally out in the delusional zone, that will motivate us and give us the intrinsically motivating power that we need to accomplish those goals. The number four reasons why resolutions fail is that they're overwhelming. We have too many sub-goals and sub-goals to our sub-goals. And so we need to have fewer goals and more relevant goals, asking those questions that we went over. And then number five, resolutions fail because they're easily forgotten. And so we need to record those, we need to write them down, and we need to have something in place that will help us to review those goals. So hopefully you've got some tools to change from resolutions to goals, and understanding how to motivate yourself, how to create goals that are specific and motivating to you, that you can accomplish those things. Again, right after this is done and we close this down, there's actually going to be a 3-minute survey that will come up. And once you complete the survey, you'll receive the handout from this webinar. And if you're in a group watching this survey, then if you can send me a list of the names and emails, and I will send an email out so that you can complete that survey and also get the handout. And so I appreciate you participating, and we look forward to hearing from Karim next month. Thank you.